All right, you want to introduce yourselves? You are who?
Hi, I am.
We are Haishen.
That was terrible. We
from Rochester. We're like a progressive / post metal band.
And individually?
I'm Randy Rowe. I'm the drummer.
I'm Chris Shute. I play guitar and I sing.
And I am Justin Montioni, and I play bass.
And how long has this been a thing?
Ooh.
You guys should answer that.
Okay.
So
Chris and I, 2016, I think, is when we started trying to start a band. And it started off as like a...
2017, late 2017. Late 2017. And 2017, winter of 2018, I think, is when we actually started putting together. We just had this idea, kind of. We kind of knew each other since 2016.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right.
Sorry,
you're right.
yeah.
Yep.
Let's get the story.
No, you're right. Yes.
Get the story straight. We kind of knew each other since 2016. We both kind of were interning at the time at Wicked Squid Studios. That's in Rochester, New York. We did our EP there. But that's how the two of us, Justin and I, met each other. And then in about early 2018, we started trying to put together. Well, back then it wasn't so much a metal band, but like a post-rock band.
Yep.
And so we just decided to start finding people. And I remember we just tried to get, it was like 3 guitar players, 1 keyboardist, and like it was crazy.
Yeah, 3 guitars, keyboards, and then drums. And we were practicing in the practice room for the music interest floor at U of R, because I had some friends from U of R. And I remember we had to have public safety let us in to get our amps out because they lost access to the room.
Oh my god.
The floor did, because like someone had smoked weed up there or something.
Of course.
And so I was like standing there with this like public safety officer, like, I didn't even go here. I was just playing in a band with some friends. I just need to get my amp back, like, please. But yeah, so Chris and I have been trying to start something, and it's been through iteration after iteration. I think that this is the 3rd, like, full kind of reset with, like, a bunch of new members and everything.
Yeah, so in, like, 2019 was when I think, like, mid-2019 was when the, like, someone, I think it was, like, the guitarist we were playing with at the time and the drummer, like, they quit, and then we asked the others, we kind of reset, and then the other guys kind of just like drifted off, and then we found Randy through the guitar player who I just said he left, actually recommended Randy, and we had one jam session, and this was about July or August of 2019, and ever since then the 3 of us have been a unit pretty much.
So you got things all set and then everything locked down.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We played 2 shows. And then the lockdown. We played a show the Friday, March 13th.
Yeah, it was like the
2020.
Day that they said like no more than 50 people.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And then
capacity.
On the Monday after that was when the state was really like, all right, nothing. No events. You're done.
Yeah.
So
have you played much in the last couple of years?
Yeah,
well, since October was really when we started playing again. October of 2021 last year. So we've been gigging pretty heavily since
since then. Yeah.
So
we had 2 shows in October, and then we took a month off because we were all Thanksgiving and just sort of all over the place for November. But then we had a show in December, and then did we play a show in January? We did, didn't we?
No,
February.
We did.
We had December at the Bug Jar. February was the one that we set up. I don't think we did.
No, we were thinking.
No, but then we've been. And then it's been pretty regular since there.
Yeah, then we had a show in February, and then.
Probably April, and then we're going on tour actually. So I want to say like at least consistent, like local band consistent at least.
Where are you going on tour and when?
April 20th, 420.
Next Wednesday, yeah.
Yep. We'll be in Buffalo. Stamps the Bar.
Right, and then it's And then Albany on the 22nd. The 21st was supposed to be in Syracuse, but that we tried really hard to get a show there, but two venues fell through.
Yeah, and but it's actually the band, our local support. They had something come up where a couple of members had to drop out, and so we kind of got in a situation where we're like, well, we no longer have a local contact. And we're trying to set up, and the venue dropped us because our local support dropped out. And now we're trying to find a new venue and trying to find new local support. And so it's kind of a whole thing. But yeah, so
420 in Buffalo, 422 in Albany at Polly's Hotel.
Yep.
And 423 at just back in Rochester at Super Koosh.
Yep. So it's a weekender, but it's all of our first. Well, Chris has been on the road before, but it's our first time as a band on the road, and it's our first out of town show. So we kind of figure we'll get a taste and see how it goes, and then start planning bigger stuff for later in the year.
Okay. And what other bands have you guys been in?
I actually recently joined a pretty well-known doom band called Oradrun.
Oh yeah.
I'm good friends with John.
Is that how
Gale.
you say that?
Yeah, Oradrun. Yeah. And speaking of playing out of town, my first shows with them will be as a featured act, I guess you'd say, in festivals in Maryland and Pennsylvania. So
nice.
Quite excited for that. That's in June.
And we're playing a show, the three of us, in June with a band that's going to be also playing at Doomfest.
That's right.
So Randy is going to go play Doomfest, and Flummox is going to play Doomfest, and then they're both going to come back here, and we're all going to play a show together in Rochester.
Flummox are our label mates,
Yep.
And I think we're actually personal friends with, or at least internet friends.
Yeah.
With
the singer.
The singer.
Yep.
So you're on a
guitar
label?
player. Yeah, we've been signed to Needle Juice Records.
Yeah.
That's a label that one of their founders, Brandon, is a good friend of ours. He's based in Rochester, but I think their actual base of operations, I think, is either in
I think it's Nashville.
Tennessee.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. The main they have like an office and a warehouse and everything down there in Nashville, but Brandon's just up here and likes Randy's music, and then came to one of our shows and has then spent a bunch of effort convincing the rest of the people of the label, like, hey, listen to these guys, they're awesome. And they did, and they were like, well, you guys need to remix your EP and we'll master it, but otherwise,
Nice.
like, welcome aboard.
Yeah.
So then I spent like 8 months remixing a 3-song EP because neither Chris nor I can decide that we're done with anything.
Yeah.
That's because you're an artist. That's what happens.
Yep.
Yeah.
Never ends.
Chris and I are a terrible duo because I'll be like, I think it's close, and I'll send it to Chris, and he'll have like 3 tiny little changes, and I'll make those changes, and then 3 days later,
There are more changes.
I've now reworked a whole bunch of stuff that I decided I needed to change. Then I send it back to Chris, and he has different notes, and then the two of us go back and forth for months on end, and nothing gets finished.
Yeah, that's the process.
But then at the end of the day, we're pretty happy with how the remix came out, and Angel Marcloyd out of Chicago mastered it, and she did a killer job. So
Nice. Where'd the name of the band come from?
So that was just I came up with the name of the band. Haishen is Chinese for God of the Sea. And we were just kind of, I think we were just, it was a period where we were just very, it's one of those things, I think we were just like very, not to get like pretentious and like, you know, inspiration or whatever, like Spinal Tap.
But we are very pretentious.
But we were, I think just at the time, we were just both really into stuff like the kind of prog bands, like fantasy, almost that kind of fantasy thing, like a lot of Justin and I both listened to a lot of Rush.
Mm-hmm.
There's also things like Genesis, Caligula's Horse, all those kinds of kind of like out there kind of prog bands that would do this kind of fantastic stuff.
And of course, Randy is a huge Dream Theater guy.
Right.
Yeah.
So we wanted to have that sort of element, that sort of
And we'd
fantasy element, and
I had written the song Ocean, and then we'd started naming all of our other songs as working titles, things like Beluga and Neptune. And then the nautical theme just kind of stuck, and those song titles stuck.
Yeah,
So
I was really into. I still am, but I was listening to a lot of Chinese bands at the time. When Tang Dynasty is especially one of my favorite. They're China's first heavy metal band, and it was just. I think it was just that period where I guess everything was kind of like spinning around in our heads, and just decided to give it in the name Haishen.
Okay, what about lyrics?
Lyrics is, I think it's mainly, it's 50-50 with Justin and I. Mainly because I sing on most stuff. It's mainly I just kind of
Chris is the only one of us that can consistently play and sing pretty well, so he got stuck with it.
I mean, it makes sense because like you're the one singing, usually you write the lyrics, but I think Justin also comes up. Justin wrote the lyrics to Ocean. That was mainly, I'd say like 95% was his song, but then he also like contributes. He'll contribute like stanzas and things. It's very interesting because like at least our processes are different for writing lyrics because mine is more of like melody and then just kind of play like Mad Libs with it and throw in like words that fit, whereas Justin will kind of be more like write out just like stanzas of just whatever he's feeling, and then we try to work that into a melody. So it's like kind of both ways of like coming at it. So
Chris approaches it a lot more as like a songwriter, and I tend to approach it as like
a writer.
I don't want to say like I am a poet, but I would say I approach lyrics from more of a poetic standpoint, where it's like I'm making it flow by itself, and then I'll take it to music and start chopping it up to make it fit, or just send it to Chris and he'll be like, oh, I liked these two lines a lot, and then he'll write something inspired by that.
Nice.
But that's, I don't know, Chris has put in some pretty awesome work. I think Neptune is a very cool song lyrically, and the new stuff is also super cool. And
what are the inspirations for the lyrics?
We're just generally trying to work towards. I think we have
we're writing a concept album.
The album we're aiming towards a concept album that would be somewhat. It would be inspired by like Chinese mythology, but also by like kind of nautical themes and the seafaring stuff. And we had this like this kind of thing bouncing around in our heads with the whole story, like a whole story about kind of a. Like there's going to be like there's fantasy like folk mythology elements, and then there's like sci-fi elements, and then there's because we're talking about like we have like a lot about sea monsters and like gods and kind of like a war between humans and gods, and it's this whole thing. It's coming together, so we kind of pattern, like we base our writing around that. There's just like a narrative for stories and stuff.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
It would be prog music without fantastical lyrics.
It's our first album, and it's not. You're not a prog band until you've written like a 2-hour thing.
We were originally trying to write like a double album, and it was going to be like 15 songs long, and then I had some health stuff last year where I was kind of like in and out of practices for a bit, and Chris and Randy called me down the one day, and they were like, "Listen, we think we're cutting like half this. We're just gonna do a one side, like a regular single album." And I was like, "No, we got to do the double." And then they were like, "No. Here's the idea." And then once they kind of explained it, I was like, "Oh no, wait, you guys are totally right. Because if we actually commit to the double, it's going to be 6 years before we put out a follow up to the EP."
But it can still happen though if we decide.
Maybe
because
part 2. Yeah.
Well, right now we're just like we're in a very good spot. I think writing wise. I mean, we're being very inspired and like being more consistent with writing now that we have everyone back on board.
Yep.
And I mean, it could still happen if we work.
Randy, you're not matching.
If we work fast enough, and we'll
get your knee up here.
And how does the musical writing go?
That's we have like a million different ways that we write, but the it seems like it's split pretty evenly between Chris brings something somewhat complete to practice, or I can play guitar okay, and like I'll write stuff, and then I'll bring it in, and Chris will be like, oh, I really like this tonality and this chord progression, and I'm gonna go take that and run with it. Or we just sit down and we'll just literally jam at practice, and then we'll all hit an idea for like a minute that we all love, and then we'll kind of like continue off that. Yeah. But there's a lot of Chris kind of shedding stuff and then sending us a bunch of demos of being like, all right, which version of this riff do we like? And then we sit down and we jam it at practice, and then oftentimes we will start with something that Chris wrote, and then we'll jam off of it until it's become something really kind of organic within all three of us.
Nice.
And yeah, I think Chris does a lot of the hard part, which is getting something started.
And then I just do the part that nobody else in the band knows how to do, which is make complex drum
Yeah.
parts.
Well, I think to add on to that, we kind of, like a lot of it, I think this is true, I guess, of most metal bands. Like a lot of it is outside work. We work on riffs and mainly riffs by ourselves, and we'll just we'll like send them back and forth. Hey, do you like this?
Yeah.
Do you like that?
Then once we have something where it's like, oh yeah, we all like that idea, then we bring it in and jam it.
And then we basically, because there's 3 people, and it's really good to, it's like there's always like a pretty democratic, like you will never have like a gridlock with decision making. And I think this is like I can always rely on like Justin and Randy to bring in more suggestions and stuff. I'm a very forgetful player. Like I'll play something and I'll just like won't really think of.
And Randy and I will be sitting there like, oh, yo, that was sick. That was sick. And Chris will be like, what was I? I was just noodling. We're like, dude.
And that's why we record at rehearsal.
Just record everything.
Yep.
Yeah. So sometimes the jamming thing is good because we want to have sections where like. I think it's there's the technical aspect of being in a prog band, but also we want to have that kind of like scientific side and like the mythological side, and I think some of the jamming stuff is more indicative of that. So we try to make it like try to come up with these cool riffs and stuff like preconceived, but at the same time like we want to make it feel like very organic, so we're not. I know a lot of prog bands like try to do the pure like sci-fi thing, and that's cool. But like for us, it's like we try to do, I guess, somewhere in the middle, like a little bit of both.
Yeah, one of our things is like all of us have been very influenced by like a lot of '70s music. Like Randy, I think your first kind of drum influence is John Bonham, right?
Oh yeah, Led Zeppelin changed my world. That's
you can hear the '70s influence in your music.
Yeah. So
without sounding dated at all.
Right.
Perfect.
That's where like we tracked our EP live in a room together, and I think the album we're planning, it's going to be kind of a big project. I think we're planning on dubbing a lot of stuff in. But that's something that we actually really like about like listening to Rush is like you hear those guys just cueing each other. Like you can hear like you listen to YYZ and all those breaks, a lot of them aren't in time. They're just, you can tell that they're sitting in the studio cueing each other.
Yeah.
And so that was something that we really wanted to keep in our music, is that element of like, even if we go down and solidify it and like overdub parts when we actually record it down the line, the organic feeling of like we have written this part just by jamming it together, that feels like something that's really important. And the other thing is like Chris did a lot of work editing the EP to get like fixing mistakes and stuff, but at the same time it's like we didn't record it to a click, and we probably will record the album to the click, but one of our big goals is like we don't want to sound like every other modern metal band. And there's a certain sound, especially like in progressive metal, that's very produced. There's kind of that gent guitar tone.
Everything's
really
quantized to the like the 64th note or something.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And so our kind of thing is
imperfections in there.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, definitely.
Our thing is
you want the live feel, the energy.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep.
Playing as in like being in a power trio, like I think the group interplay and the synergy is really important for us, because I think also like a lot of these songs are being kind of like tested out live. I think if it's very important that people kind of pick up on that sort of energy. It's not really a really good way to explain it, but I feel like if it's good, if it feels good live, then it we want to be able to reproduce that on a record.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what a lot of bands fail at. You see them live, and you're like, oh my God, this band's amazing. And then you get the record, and you're like, so this is okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's our goal is that we're not going to sound exactly the same on each, but that when you hear the album, it sounds like the band that you heard live. And when you hear the band live, it sounds, you don't show up to a show and go, man, these guys, this doesn't sound like the album. They don't sound together, like, et cetera, et cetera. Like, we want to be a consistent product, but it's worth doing both versions kind of thing.
Well, I mean, which is also valid. Like some bands try not to sound like their live show is one thing and their studio, like they use the studio to like go crazy with all these things. But I think at least for the first album, we're trying to make capturing that kind of organic element is paramount of paramount importance to us.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Where can people find you online and such?
Oh, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have YouTube. We have YouTube, Twitter.
And it's all under Haishen?
Yep.
It's a Haishen band, I believe.
And then our music's on Spotify, Tidal, and Bandcamp. We like Bandcamp because we actually,
Haishen.bandcamp.com.
Yep. Yeah. And then also, if you're kind of internet savvy and into memes, our label has a Discord server, which is chaos, but it's fun.
It's a good kind of chaos.
And we have a channel in there where people do things like Photoshop us onto the Weezer Blue album cover, and it's as Monty Python once said, "'Tis a silly place." But
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
we do a little bit of tomfoolery.
We do, but yeah. So I think that there's a link to the Discord through our label's webpage, needlejuicerecords.com.
Okay.
All right,
But,
that's the other place you can find us is on the actual label's website.
Yep, needlejuicerecords.com, or I think it's just needlejuice.bandcamp.com.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so all of our, if you order a CD or a tape from us, it will fulfill through Needlejuice, and that supports them and it supports us, so that's great. If you order other merch off of our Bandcamp, that comes directly from us, so I have to run down to the post office on Thurston and ship it for you. Oh man, I shipped some stuff international recently, and the post office lady was definitely maybe a little bit nonplussed with my 5 packages, 3 of them going to Europe.
Are you planning on doing any vinyl? You did tape and...
We are going to do vinyl.
That's a long, sad story. Well, it's actually a short, sad story.
We'd like to.
The day that our test pressing was supposed to get ordered was the day that the vinyl shortage started. So we didn't get vinyl for our EP, but the plan is that the album will have vinyl.
Nice.
I mean, it'll take probably another, as Justin said, maybe 6 years to put out the album. So hopefully by then the PVC shortage will solve.
In all seriousness, I think at the rate that we're at, I think we're all fingers crossed that we get this first quarter 2023 for a release. But that's subject to some flex. But hopefully this album comes out
beginning of next year.
So,
all right. Anything else people should know?
Well, if you like ambient music, I also make ambient music, and you can find that on Bandcamp. My artist name is Luminous Shade. So if you like drone ambient, check that out.
Yeah,
Brian Eno-esque stuff.
Yeah,
that's actually kind of how the label connection started. Was my friend and I had a split album, ambient album, that our friend Brandon wanted to print to tape. So that was kind of that connection, and then it's, well, hey, I have this band. You should listen to it.
I just snagged an old tape player. I have to bring it home still, but I should buy your tape so that I can go listen to it in my living room.
You should.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming up and playing. You were awesome.
Thank you for having us.
Thoroughly enjoyed it.
That was a ton of fun.
Really appreciate
Thanks for having us. Yeah.